All human beings deserve a right to a fair and just criminal justice system. Thinking about all the people in the world who have died, they have died in the hands of people sworn to protect them. I still believe there is hope. One of the main things I see constantly in most police encounters, there is a complete and lack of ability or willingness, for that matter, to de-escalate situations. They are far too aggressive and hostile, even when dealing with minor police encounters, minor situations. They treat all their citizens like a potential criminal. They have their hands on their gun at all times, afraid of getting killed 24/7. They're afraid of getting killed 24/7, and they're the ones with the guns most of the time. Just because someone looks different than you, you fear them and judge them? That's ridiculous. Learn to treat your fellow man with dignity and respect. They need to train police in de-escalation tactics and basic training in psychology so they can determine if they need to contact a psychologist or a counselor to help that person. Staying level-headed and keeping the peace is an important part of criminal justice, including lawyers, prosecutors, and judges. If an individual is already in contact with the justice system, they should have access to affordable and high-quality legal services. They shouldn't be able to be put in prison and be waiting to see if they're guilty or not. People are being put in prison before they're even found guilty, just because they're waiting. They need to enact more of the pre-trial services that have been going around, where you say, okay, you've been charged with this. Your court date is 6 months from now. Can we guarantee you to show up? And they'll statistically, most of them have shown up before. So we need to implement in all states and all countries of the world. All countries of the world need to enact a pretrial services system instead of just throwing them in jail and letting them wait in jail and prison till their court date to see if they may be guilty or not. That's not justice. Ensuring fairness within the justice system is a necessity, and ending the privatization of prison facilities, eradicating disproportionately punitive policies, and encouraging the health and rehabilitation of individuals that have been impacted by mass incarcerations is important. The socioeconomic justice, people are arrested who are denied money to pay bail and jailed while awaiting trial, like I said. While most people are denied bail because they are risk factors or flight or illegal activity, most are detained solely because they are too poor to pay. Pre-trial detention infers with deployment, payment, and bills and caregiving, it can inflict extraordinary psychological help. Even for minor offenses, people who are detained before trial are more likely to be incarcerated and more likely to receive a longer sentence. Many poor people charged with misdemeanors appear in court hearings without a lawyer, where they must make the unimaginable choice of pleading guilty and being released by burdens and fines and court costs or other collateral consequences of convicting a lawyer. Or they just can't afford to be in jail, or they can choose to remain in jail indefinitely while waiting for a lawyer. So basically, people are being put in jail because they can't afford to bail And rich people that can afford bail, that might be charged with more severe crimes, are paying the bail and getting out of jail. So our current criminal justice system is disproportionately affecting poor people who can't afford the bail. So criminal justice should not be based on how much money you have in your pocket. It should be if you're guilty or not. Health in prisons is another issue. People held in correctional facilities deserve a constitutional right to health care, yet the overcrowded, unsanitary conditions inside many correctional facilities, combined with poor nutrition, lack of ventilation, and forced ideals of the impact of violence, trauma, and solitary confinement, have the long-term negative effect on health that infringe on the Constitution and human rights of prisoners and detainees. Each year, millions of incarcerated people who experience chronic health conditions, infectious disease, substance use, and mental illness at a much higher rates than the general population return home from correctional institutions to communities that are already rife with health disparities, violence, poverty, among other structural inequalities. I believe prison system should also reflect that sort of change. Prisons need reformation. I believe they need to reform prisons into high security rehab centers, making sure the prisoners have access to treatment programs to help them mentally, spiritually, as well as the tools to be successful once they are released. Not the bullcrap that we see in prison systems today, the never-ending cycle of getting released and not being able to cope not be able to cope in the outside world because they've been in the prison system for so many years, trying to survive and adjust, and then when they get to the real world, they have a hard time adjusting to the real world. It's tough because they spend their lives trying to survive in prison and learning the prison mentality. And you get out, have that prison mentality, and it's hard to adjust to the real world. They can't make adjustments, so they are sent back. We need to remember that these are human beings, not criminals. These are human beings, not criminals. So I think it's a great idea to combine our mental health work programs, halfway health programs, combine that with our prison systems. Thank you.